Hey snowmobilers, okay, so this is actually part 2 of my Thunder Products clutching project series. For right now, we got to get that secondary helix off so I can send that to Thunder Products clutching. Let's do that right now. To get the secondary off, what we got to do is take this bolt out. That's all that is. And then the secondary, the outside sheave of the secondary comes off, and you see that the belt is already loose. The sheaves split apart. I'm going to use that to kind of put parts in here. We don't need that. Another thing that I've got here is I've got 2 spacers. It's normally very important that you don't lose these spacers, and you got to remember they go in between the 2 sheaves. So you want to set these aside where you're going to be able to use them. Now we just need to move the belt out of the way, because what we're getting to is the movable sheave, which slides right off. Here's the helix. So now let's get this, I'll show you my new tool that I bought, and we're going to get this removed here, and then we can send it off to Thunder Products clutching. So let's get to that right now. So we got to get this off, and to get it off we need, this is a 4mm hex wrench, and then we need a little tool. Now I got this is actually a pretty expensive little tool. It looks simple, but if you're not a welder, and I'm not, SLP does also sell one of these, but you can get them just about anywhere. Dennis Kirk or Speedworks sells one. Black Diamond Extreme probably sells one. Indie Specialties, who knows, a lot of people have them. Okay, so we're just gonna, this just has to be snug. Now these are installed with Loctite. Normally you have to use heat for that. I would heat it up with a torch. Let's see here. And all I'm doing is, I'm just making sure that all of them are loose. And because I've got this tightened all the way down, and it's in the way, of course, because I've gotten it tightened all the way down, I don't have to worry. Normally I would worry about, I would loosen each of these machine screws a little, maybe one turn, and go to the next one, the next one, and the next one. And in this case, I don't have to do that because the helix isn't going anywhere. It's clamped down pretty solidly. So now this is all loose. Now all I got to do is just back this off nice and slow. And once I get this off, I just take this piece, send it off to Thunder Products clutching. All right, all right, here it is. Here's the helix. This is what Thunder Products clutching wants, and I'm going to send that along with the ECU, and in a few weeks we'll get this back and reinstall it. Keep track of all your parts. If in doubt, take pictures of everything so you remember where everything goes, because it's going to be a week or so before you get this back, and you might forget. At least I will. It's been a couple weeks already. Everything just kind of sit here and got dirty. That's about all it did, is collect dust. But in the meantime, I've got everything I need. And here is my helix. I'm going to reinstall this. But the other thing I got in the meantime is I got this little tube of bolts. Okay, these are machine screws from Black Diamond Extreme. And what these are, already have some Loctite on the tip. These are Torx screws instead of hex. This is what I need. This isn't some cookie cutter kit. This is what I asked for. First of all, there's some bushings here. You can see the bushings for the weights, for the fly weights. Then this is a new spacer for the secondary. I got a plethora of instructions here, a new sticker, some Loctite, a set of weights if I need it, but the the flyweights are already set up for me. So they've already done the hard work of getting, calibrating these. These are all weighed separately so that they're all balanced. I got a set of 3, and I got a new spring. So that's what we got here. And let's get that out of the way. And I think probably the best place to start is on the primary side of things. You need a Torx bit here, and this is a T60 bit right here. The other thing you need is one of these handy SLP clutch holder things that go on here to keep the clutch from spinning. All you got to do is break that free, pull the bolt out. And this bolt does not take the clutch off. So if you're new to removing a clutch, the bolt, when it comes out, it does have a little washer here. You want to keep that, so set that off to the side. Make sure you don't lose that. Now the bolt is out, but now you need to do something else. And to get this clutch off, the next thing I probably need to do is take the screws off for this panel so I can pull the panel back. So there are quite a few of these machine screws that we have to take off. There's a couple back here and there's a couple up front here. And that is a T25 Torx. So we'll get those off, and all you really got to do is break them free, and then they should come right off. I think there's one more down here. Yep. There might be even 2. Nope, there's just one. All right, so that's 2, and then there's a couple over here that are going to help a lot by getting rid of those. So we'll get rid of those. Get this whole panel loosened up. There's one more over here someplace. Where is it? Here it is, right there. Okay, there's one more underneath here that I'm going to get. The other thing that you want to do is there's a little button. This is a kind of a movable little thing here, and the idea behind this is to prevent the clutch cover from scraping the belly pan. I really don't know how much I need that, so I just kind of, it's off to the side here. I just haven't done anything with that. Now we need a clutch puller, and in this case I've got my handy Articat clutch puller. I keep it in this sleeve to protect the threads. And I've actually already used this, so I've got some grease on it already. And that's what you want. You want a little grease on the tip, a little grease over here, just to kind of make things go easier. Okay, so we'll get that here. All right, so let's get this thing in here to keep this from turning. Like that. And there you go. So the head of the clutch puller actually has a, see that? It's got a kind of an extra head on it. And that's so you can actually hit that with a hammer, and if it peens down, it won't, affect the bolt head at all. But that sometimes can be used to loosen that. All right, that was a bit of a chore, but I got it right there. It does take quite a bit of effort to get that off of there. Now here's something I'm doing. I'm just going to leave this belt right here. I don't need to move that at all. And the next thing we need to do is get the clutch taken apart so that I can put the pieces on. All right, so now starts the fun part. We start putting stuff back together. To get the clutch cover off, you don't need a tool for that. You just need a 10mm socket. And this is, it's not under a lot of pressure, but it is under a little bit of pressure, and you want to make sure that when you do this, that you start slow. So all I'm doing is I'm just going to loosen them all up here. And then we'll just kind of work our way around here. Okay, as you can see, it's loose, and I didn't need a tool to do that other than my, a socket set basically. So you remove this, and the Thunder Products clutch cover comes with a steel bushing that fits perfectly on there, so that stays with that. Here's the new spring that I put on. So this is the spring from Thunder Products clutching. And then what I did is the weights are here, the new weights. This takes a 5mm hex wrench on this side, and it takes a T30 on this side, okay? And all you got to do is you unscrew it, unscrew these. The pin, so the screw holds the pin in, and the pin slides out this way, okay? Then the whole assembly comes out. What you get, what you want to take out, is a set of these little bushings on either side, spacers, and this is the spring, or this is the, I'm getting all mixed up now. 2 spacers and a weight per side. There's 3 sets of these. So this is the stock weight, and you can kind of see there's a wear pattern here, but nothing really terrible. There's a little bit down here that looks like like it's been sitting there for a while, and up here too. So up at the top and down at the bottom, there are 2 different wear spots. But really, it's smooth. There's no rough spots on it, and the rollers which are here are also smooth. So I don't have a problem with the way the way the clutch wore. Some of the adapt clutches have a problem with wear. I think on the higher mileage, and by high mileage I mean like 3,000 to 4,000 miles, is kind of where you want to watch those. Okay, but in the meantime then, so what Thunder Products clutching sends us is 2 nylon spacers and the weights. The weights are already pre-configured based on my discussion with Tim and Terry at Thunder Products Clutching. So I don't have to worry about setting the weights. They did give me extra weights. So if I want to change things up, the target RPMs that they're looking for are 8150 to 8250 wide open, final RPMs. So that's something I'll be looking for when I test this. They did send a little bit of blue Loctite, and I Loctited these. Even though they have a lock nut on them, I did add a little bit of Loctite to each one of them just to make sure that they don't unscrew themselves. These do not have Loctite on them, and this is the way they were from the factory. I'm not going to add any Loctite to these because I'm not sure it's necessary. Okay, so once these are all put back together, then you put the spring on, and again there's this washer and then the cover. Now to get this compressed, you can, if you've got manly man hands, you can push this down, hold it, there you go, and I was having trouble with this earlier. I thought maybe I didn't have manly man hands, but maybe I do. Oh, look at that, I did it. Okay, I was using my clutch compression tool to do this the first time around, but it looks like I might be able to do this without doing that. I will put on the screen the torque spec for this. Now, obviously, I'm just snugging these up. I'm not going to tighten them up just yet completely because we want to make sure that we get the right torque spec. I will put that on the screen. And I'm not tight. Oops, that one did get a little tight. You want to make sure that that those get torqued down. Okay, next up. Come on down. You're the next contestant. We're going to do the secondary clutch. Remember, this is the movable sheave, And I've got my Delrin washers here. I only need 2 of these because this one I don't need because the adapt clutch can't take it. So we're just going to set that off to the side. We'll save that for a rainy day. This thing is a spacer that we use when we put everything back together. So I'm going to move that off to the side. Here are the old spacers, and I'm just going to set that, I think, in this box. And then I've got those bolts that aren't any good. These bolts, put them in the box too. Actually, I got that little baggie. Okay, so this, we'll set this off. Actually, we'll set that right there along with the bolt. We got my 2 Delrin washers. The clutch bolt goes with the primary clutch. And then I've got these four new machine screws. We'll need that. This we'll need. Here's my, my machined helix, the spring, and the roller cup thing, whatever you call that. Okay, now the spring has this little tab on it. The tab goes in the secondary like that, and some people say to cut that tab off. Instead of cutting the tab off, I'm going to use these Delrin washers. Instead of doing 1 Delrin washer, I'm going to do 2. I'm just going to set that. Let's make sure that got set on there right. Yes, it did. And like that. Okay. So that should free up this spring so that it won't bind at all. And then, you know, machining these won't bind there either. Okay, now we need this compression tool, because even manly man hands can't do this, I don't think. At least mine can't. Okay, and what we got to do is compress this all the way down. Come on. It's not difficult when you do it this way. Now, one thing I will caution you on is as you compress this, it may be slightly off center. Okay, even when you're using this tool, things can get off center. So as you're squishing this down, just make sure that the helix goes straight down into the sheave. What can happen is it can get kind of hung up. And what happens to me is it gets hung up right at the very end. So we'll see what happens here. You want this pushed down flat against the secondary sheave, and if it does not, then it's hung up someplace. So let's see what happens here. You can see it's getting kind of a little bit crooked. Okay, I felt it kind of slide into place there. There it is. Okay, so the bolts aren't perfectly lined up, but I don't know if you can see that, it's flat all the way across. If it's not flat, then you need to back out and try it again. So this is the, which one is this now? I think this is a T30. This is a T30. Yep, okay. Okay, the rest of these bolts, oh, this one looks like it's kind of lined up. But these 2 bolts here are not lined up very well, so I'm going to, as soon as I get these tightened down, I'm just going to back it out just a tiny bit so that I can move it. I don't want to do it until I have quite a bit of thread on there, because otherwise, there we go. Perfect. Look at that. Awesome. You don't want to put these screws in part way, you know, screw them in shallow, and then back out the sheave, because that spring has enough pressure on it that you could strip threads, and you do not want to do that. You'll ruin the clutch if you do that. Okay, again, these are going to be these are going to have a specific torque spec to them. Okay, and now let's take a look at it. And you can, I don't know if you can see that, but I can. It's flat all the way around. So that was a successful replacement of the helix. And now we need to torque it. So before we do anything else, I'm going to go grab my torque wrench and we're going to torque that. I'll be right back. Okay, here we are. Time to put stuff back. The secondary clutch, we're going to set off to the side. We do the primary first. So we got the primary clutch here, and I got the bolt, primary clutch bolt. So if I remember correctly, the last time I did this, it was a lot easier to get the clutch in than it was to get it out. Oh yeah, look at that. Okay, now the clutch is just pressed on. It's just pressed on. So the way that you press it on is with the bolt. So once I get it to this point, it's on. Now we just put the bolt back in. Remember, this was a ginormous T60 bolt. Okay, this is a 50, oops, wrong wrench. This is a 50 foot-pounds Okay, the thing to do with this is, with a primary clutch, when you put a primary clutch on, what you want to do is torque it down, get it all set, start it up, run it, then come back and retorque it. Okay, so now we do the movable sheave for the secondary. And on this, I'm just going to move the belt out of the way. There are two sets of splines here. One for the movable and one for the immovable one. So there we go, I got that set. Now I put the new Thunder Products clutching spacer on. Now I put the belt on. And then I put the other sheave, the outer sheave, on. To get this secondary on, really the trick is you want to get the outer sheave kind of on the splines, and you have to kind of jockey the belt around a little bit to make that happen. The belt will kind of fall down, and it will prevent you from getting the two sheaves close enough together so you can put the bolt in. So what you got to do is kind of jockey the belt around, and eventually it will start to slide on to, you know, once it engages the splines there and you get the bolt in, then you can, it's a lot easier to jockey the belt around. And you can see that the belt is riding really high here. Well, maybe you can't. I'll see if I can zoom in here. But it's riding really high. You can see the belt above the, that's normal, okay? So you want that to be nice and high like that. The Articat belts run tight. They're not loose because there's a bearing inside the primary clutch that allows it to slip. But anyway, so the next thing I would do is jack up the sled, so get the track off the ground, and then you turn the clutch, and the clutch will try to squeeze together a little bit, and the belt will move up a little bit. So then you tighten that bolt, and then you turn a little bit more, and then tighten the bolt, and you keep working it, okay? So, and eventually it will squeeze together. Then you come back and torque that down, okay? When you torque it down, you got to set the parking brake, which is right there. So set the parking brake, and then you can torque this down. Now it's time to start the sled up, let it run a little bit, just to idle. All you're doing is you're just making sure everything is seated properly. I mean, total time is about 5 minutes probably or less. It doesn't take very much time at all. And then once this rotates a few times, then come back, shut everything down, and re-torque the two bolts. And then you're done. And I think that wraps it up. Thanks for watching. And as soon as it snows, I hope I see you on the trail.